Yo, 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 hello, and welcome to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 95, where we are on to part two of overcoming the fear of failure, something which can stop you dead in your tracks. And in the last episode, I talked about your deepest fear and why we actually have this in the first place and why we tend to struggle with it. So, this one is going to be all about how to actually overcome it. I know in the last episode, I will have spoken about certain little things and strategies that you can utilize, but today we are specifically focusing on that. So I'm just going to get straight into this. I've got a list of 10 things which I've had quite a bit of practice with myself. I've played around with a few things. I have tried things, tested them, done them, and utilize them now and again. I've got certain things which I keep in my routine on a consistent basis, and then there are other things which tend to be quite sporadic and that life will throw at you and give you the opportunity itself to actually implement some of these strategies. So it's just a case of recognizing the situation. And this leads me into the first one, which is first off, acknowledge and accept your emotions. Recognize that the fear of failure is very, very common. And the feelings that you have about the judgment, the pressure, the stress, the social anxiety, what it might mean to your family, to your team, like all of those feelings are perfectly normal and okay. And as soon as you realize that they are normal and that you're not the only person that actually will suffer with, let's say suffer with them, experience them, it disempowers the emotion in the first place. So if you recognize it, you will essentially stare the monster in the face and take away the power that any of those emotions have over you. So if you can recognize it, you can then start to work with it a little bit. You can dance with it. So the first thing is don't bottle it and don't try and bury it. If you're in a pressure moment and you're a little bit worried, you're a little bit scared, don't try and convince yourself that you're not because it won't work. You will know that you are lying to yourself. The first thing to do is if you think, you know, I'm feeling a bit stressed about kicking this one, or I'm feeling a bit stressed about taking this shot, then that's fine. Admit that to yourself. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit stressed about this. Perfectly normal. And then we can start to implement some of these other techniques through and intertwine it and then add it into the performance. And the first thing you have to do is actually acknowledge. And again, this goes with every single step forward and problem solving issue. The first thing to acknowledge in solving any problem, and if we were to address these, the fear of failure is a problem. Operating with that fear is going to hold you back. The first thing to do to solve any problem is acknowledge there is a problem in the first place. And if you can do that, that is what I'm referring to. Now we can then start to act and take action in other ways. Number two, going into your performance, set targets, set goals. Okay, if you're and make sure they are controllable. So if your goal is to win, if your goal is to win a game, you can't necessarily control that. You can't necessarily have 100% ownership of that because in any sporting environment, if it's especially if it's a team game, you have got multiple other people competing with you, against you. You've got referees. There are a lot of external factors that could go into impacting the result, as well as just sheer dumb luck. So, if you want to set the goal of winning a game, winning a tournament, that's fine. Set that goal, but then think, okay, well, how am I actually going to achieve that goal? And break it down into the process. And the process goal is exactly what you're going to be focusing on. That's where your time, your effort, your energy, your skill set, your thoughts, your game plan, your visualization, that's where you have to focus. That's where you need to push all that energy to be, okay, my goal this weekend is to win. We have to win this game. The way that I am going to contribute to that is for us to take myself personally on kickoffs, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to try and put the ball in certain areas. I'm going to try and do certain things with the formation, with the lineup, and put the opposition under a bit of stress and a bit of pressure to give us a good advantage of trying to get field position. Might not necessarily be able to control the field position 100% because they might get a really good return. Something weird might happen, but Can I kick the ball as far and as high and as deep as possible to make it really difficult for them? Yes, I can. Field goals, can I execute my technique and give the ball the best chance of going through the posts? Yes, I can. Have I done all the prep work leading into the game? Yes, I have. Punts, the same sort of thing. There are certain formations. If I see them do this, we're going to do that. We're going to kick it that way, not that way. We're going to kick it to this person, not that person. There are simple things as part of the process that if you focus on those and you execute on those, you increase your chances. So make that the thing you stick to and you dial in on. It's a little bit like if you were to go, well, right, I've got a weight loss goal or I've got a fat loss goal. I want to be super lean. I want to get down to 7% body fat, 5% body fat. And then me go, okay, cool. Well, how are you going to do that? Oh, well, I haven't thought about that. Well, maybe we should have a think about how we're going to get there and then pay attention, pay very close attention as to whether we're doing those things consistently. If we can do that, that is what is going to get you the results. I had a chat with someone this week about their nutrition, and they'd already not one of my clients, it was someone else that I was working with for a short period, and they'd already got macros, food templates, like what you should and shouldn't eat, or essentially diet information. They'd got all of that, and they didn't feel like they were making any progress. So I went, okay, well, where do you feel like falling down? Said, what kind of stuff do you eat? Talk me through it. And they taught me through some pretty bland shit, which I know for a fact you aren't eating that. I know for a fact you're eating loads of shit on top of the things you've just said. And the fact that you think the things you've just said are the only way to actually diet and eat to be able to get maintainable weight loss results or maintainable fat loss results is a crock of shit. Then I proceeded to show this person the kind of things that go into my diet, the kind of things I eat on a fairly regular basis. And I would consider myself as being in relatively good shape. I wouldn't say I'm the leanest I've ever been right now. Life happens, but I'm not in bad shape. I'm still very, very fit, physically fit, probably as fit and as strong as I have been. Um, and I am still making improvements. I am actually making more and more progress in this area as well. So I proceeded to show what I was eating and how I was structuring things. And then I was like, well, what does your current preparation level look like? What are you actually focusing on? And there is zero preparation. It's just a bunch of guidelines and a bunch of information, and then zero in terms of here's how to think about all that information and how to actually implement it. And if you're missing that bridge, if you're missing that link between those two, a little bit like having your main goal and your process goal, if you're missing that bridge towards those behaviors, you are setting yourself up to fail. So don't do that. Instead, focus on this one, which is another part of our overcoming failure, which is just focus on effort and improvement. One of the other things I said is that you are not going to necessarily be 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 every single day. You might not prep a meal one week and you might miss the first few days and you might have to kind of think on your feet a little bit. You might end up going to a petrol station and buying your food from there, or you go into a Subway and you're getting a sub from there. There are certain things that you might have to do to adapt to make sure you don't go unnecessarily hungry and make sensible food choice off the back of it. So you're not going to be perfect, but can you improve week on week or even day on day, week on week? Absolutely 100% within your control. And if you come out of it with the self-talk of like, look, I haven't done great this week. I know I can do better. This is how I'm going to do better. You're going to make progress. Having that growth mindset that I spoke about in the last podcast, this podcast, and probably a ton of other episodes that I've recorded is absolutely crucial towards you being able to actually grow and develop. So focus on that effort and improvement. If you look at the end of your week, by the time you get there and you think, well, training was a bit shit on Monday, average Tuesday, really good Wednesday, moderate Thursday, really good today. I've had a good week overall. Have I made progress in the long term? 100%, because you've been consistent through the week and you're still pushing. And if you keep adding that up week on week, you're going to get somewhere. You won't be able to necessarily visualize it 100%, but you will be way ahead of anybody else that isn't doing those things. And I suppose the next secret, the next tip to this for overcoming fear of failure is visualize your success, whatever that is to you. Visualize and mentally rehearse. If you've got a stressful situation, put yourself in that position. See yourself in that moment. Like, for instance, take a penalty kick, for example. Pressure tournament. Let's just say that you've got to take a kick. Could go off the Man City game last night. Let's say you've got a penalty kick to keep your team in the competition. If you miss, the worst thing in the world, you're out, you're done. Everybody hates you because you're the one that missed. Put yourself in that moment. The ball's on the spot. You're looking at the goal, the goalkeeper. Have a little think about, first off, what you're feeling. Acknowledge the emotions that you're experiencing, and then go through the process of what's my next step to be able to strike the ball as perfectly as I can to put it right where I want it. Break that step down, go into that, see it happening, put the ball in the net, and visualize visualize yourself overcoming that situation, overcoming the adversity, overcoming the challenge, overcoming the difficulty, overcoming the emotions, the stress, the anxiety, and executing your skill perfectly. If you can do that, it makes it more realistic by visualizing and practicing it beforehand. When you get in that situation, you go, well, I've already been here. I've visualized it 1,000 times. For instance, if I'm going to kick a field goal, I will visualize the game, the stadium, the venue, everything before I actually take the kick. I'm doing it all the way through the warm-ups. I'm doing it all the way through the pre-game walk around the field. I'll walk up and down the field, go around the hash marks, take a moment to visualize each kick going through as I'm hitting from that particular spot, and put that into practice. Dude, honestly, I cannot tell you how underrated visualization really is for actually being successful when it comes to achieving anything, but certainly having success in precision skills such as that. The next one is develop resilience, which you're not going to turn that down, are you? So build resilience by developing coping skills like positive self-talk, mindfulness, deep breathing, control your breathing. That's probably one of the biggest things you can do. Have a routine with it, be able to control your breath. You'll see the best penalty takers in the world, the best free kick takers, the best kickers, the best shooters. They're all able to control their physiology of relaxing their breathing, calm their mind to then take that shot and not even and get out of their own head and not think about the situation. You control your breath, you go into your habits, you relax, and you perform the skill you've spent your entire season, career, life working on, honing ever since you were a kid, and you pull it out of the bag. Staying calm under pressure, control any negative thoughts, recognize them, put them to bed, and put yourself in those situations frequently. Don't just do it like every now and again or when the big game comes around and it might be important. Do it habitually every single game. Every single night before you go to bed, have a think about those kinds of situations that are important to you. Number 6, learn from setbacks. So have a little think about, again, this is a really good one when it comes to acknowledging and accepting those emotions. So at some point, no matter who you are, whether you're 14, 15, 28, 50, whatever, you will have failed at something at some point. Nobody is perfect at everything. So revisit that, put that into perspective of you've been in situations before where you've done shit, you've not been successful, you've maybe made a bit of a fool of yourself, and recognize that that has happened. And there are ways to move beyond that, and that your life hasn't ended. That's also that's a key thing to recognize, is that you failed before and it hasn't been the end of you. There is always a way forward. So have a look at any past um either events, past moments, mistakes, failures, and ultimately, like, do this as and when they happen. Like I've done this before, where I've had an absolute stinker of a game, and I've actually, cracked out a laptop or a pen and paper, and I've taken notes on it. I've gone through how I felt, how I feel now, how I'm so disgusted with myself, and my overall thoughts, feelings, attitudes, beliefs about the entire situation. Got the emotional crap and the emotional baggage out the way, binned that off, and then gone into what was the issue? What was the actual problem? Why did it go wrong? Was it a skill execution thing? Was it a setup thing? Was it not accounting for the wind? Was it not being in the right place at the right time with regards to steps, cadence, rhythm? Um, and then whatever those key factors are, did I work on them enough leading into it? Is there more that I can do to work on them afterwards and work on improving it, and going back to that, consistently focus on effort and improvement? And if you put that as kind of part of your value set as an athlete, like I value very much as a coach and as a player and as a captain, as a teammate, anyone that puts in effort, that is a first. Like that should be mandatory. It's probably one of the things that really, really, really winds me up about watching Man United at the minute, is because there is just a severe lack of effort, or it seems like that on the face of it. So learn from your setbacks and dial it into, how can I fix this? Have that growth mindset, put the pieces together, deal with the emotional baggage, and then look at the actual physical skills and the execution. Then number 7, create a supportive environment. So this is something that can help massively when it comes to coping with tricky situations, tough times. If you've got a very supportive family, very supportive teammates, very supportive coaches. I had a conversation with someone earlier this week about some of the highest performing teams and most effective teams and businesses actually rely on radical candor and the ability for any person at any moment, to anybody, to say whatever is realistically, to say whatever is on their mind that is either bothering them, troubling them, or will help them move forward, or holding someone accountable. And it's something that I think from speaking to a lot of people who work jobs as opposed to like just my own thoughts and observations, people that are in careers where HR is involved and you can't say certain things to certain people, or if you want to say something to someone, you have to go through this particular channel and it gets delivered by somebody else. And everything is very time consuming, it's slow, it's big, clunky. And by the time the message gets there, the moment's gone and everything has been diluted. Whereas if you've got the ability to openly and honestly provide feedback to someone, no matter what it might be, and know that they're going to accept it and not cry about it, not want to get you fired, not hate you forever, but instead they'll actually see it as, okay, cool, that's actually really, really important. And I want us to be the best fucking team on the planet. I will do my best to change that, because I think I can see where you're coming from and it will improve the team if I can change these things. Very, very simple. Whereas if you've got the belief of, well, you're just being criticized for the sake of being criticized, or you're being criticized because someone doesn't like you or they're picking on you, and you don't receive it well, people are going to be less inclined to give you feedback, because they think, well, what's the point? You're just going to get upset with me, you'll get me fired, or you'll turn your back on me. And that just creates a load of distrust within the team. So if you can get your team and your management into a position where you can be so open and so honest with your feedback, and know that it is all 100% of it always only ever directed at improving the team and getting results, then you will be a successful organization. You will be a winning team. And it's something that if you're an athlete, if you're in the situation where you can control your environment, whether it's, and this is quite difficult as well, actually, with Instagram, Twitter, just social media in general, it's really, really tricky to actually stay on top of that environment because more or less, if you're on any of those platforms, more or less anybody who wants to, who knows you and is aware of you, can get in touch with you. So, can you control that by putting potential blocks on people that might say detrimental things that you don't want to hear or don't need to hear? It can be really, really difficult, especially like if you're a megastar, for example, like if you're Marcus Rashford at the minute, the amount of criticism you're getting, and rightly so, the amount of criticism that you're getting, how do you blank that out? For me, my answer to that would be I am going to be aware of it. I'm going to acknowledge it. And then I'm also actually going to sign off from everything. I'm going to block it out. I'm going to have nothing to do. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm going to throw it in a fire. Don't need it. I'm going to move beyond it. And I'm just going to get my head down and work my nuts off to make sure that people don't have the ability to say these things and be right. I am going to make sure that if they're going to say anything like that, then they're going to be dead wrong and there's going to be no evidence or statistics to back them up. And I'm going to put everything on the line. And again, people value that. Most people will value hard work and effort. And if you can do that and embody that, there is no problem. But be the controller of your own environment. Don't think, and again, whether it's work, school, social media, family life, gym life, team aspects, don't think that you aren't in control of that environment. You can 100% dictate what goes on, what gets said, what you accept, what you will tolerate. That is completely up to you. So if someone steps out of line, it's really important that you back them down, you push them away, you silence them. You say, listen, I'm not going to be taking that. If you want to talk to me like that, then we aren't going to get on. Be open with that. Let them know where the line is. The problem is people generally don't know the boundaries. So that's where certain people and parents can be quite difficult with this, mums especially. I'm sure dads will be as well, but from experience, where the filter kind of comes down and the consequences of the words don't really get thought about or assessed before the words hit. So let them know where the boundaries are, let them know where the line is, and control the dialogue. You are in charge. Then the next one, number 8, challenge negative beliefs. So any negative beliefs that you've got, like I must be perfect. Well, that's not true for a start. Like, what do you mean by perfect? You're like, you have to. Well, yeah, very simply. What do you mean by perfect? That's not a realistic expectation for anybody, and it's always only ever going to lead to failure. So add in. So challenge it, question it. I have to be X, Y, or Z. What do I mean by that? Why do I have to be that? Who says I have to be that? And then when you realize that it's actually you putting those expectations on yourself or those negative beliefs on yourself, you could just go, listen, I've put in thousands and thousands of hours of practice. I've executed my skill thousands of times perfectly. I've missed more than most because I've attempted more than most. It's part and parcel of the journey. I will go beyond this no matter what. I've failed before. I'm sure I'll fail again at some point further down the line. It is what it is. Let's go. And challenge those beliefs, think them through. Don't just take the thought and accept it, especially if it's a bad one, especially if it's something that's going to be quite upsetting or distressing for yourself. Don't just let it in and sit there. Imagine like your thought center is a room and someone walks in that fucking stinks and it says, you must be perfect all over their t-shirt and they absolutely whiff. What would you do? Kick them out. Absolutely kick them out. If you don't like them, if you don't like the thought, deal with it. Get rid. That's my technical analogy there. Number 9, practice mindfulness and focus. So this is something that you can actually do uh, quite easily, and something that most teams probably should do. But make sure that the practice is intense. Add in pressure situations and pressure moments into your training sessions. Make your training sessions more difficult than your game situations. It's something that we do at the Manchester Titans, where we try and create noise, we try and create distractions, we try and create pressure scenarios where people have to deliver. And whether they deliver or not is not actually the key factor in that moment. Obviously, it helps if we do, but the main thing is exposing that person to that situation so that when the big moment arrives, and bear this in mind as well, pressure moments only exist in the minds of the people watching. When you are in that situation, it's not a pressure moment. It is just another moment. It is just another opportunity for you to perform your skill. It's really, really simple. But it becomes a problem where you start thinking about the potential gravity and the consequences of the situation. And if you don't control that, if you don't kick those thoughts out of the room, if you don't kick that whiff, you are going to be stuck with it. You'll be distracted. And imagine sitting down to write a really long essay or record a really good podcast while stinking. You are not going to be as effective as you might hope. You will be distracted. So deal with those thoughts. Another good one that I've utilized is, well, meditation and progressive relaxation. So again, focusing and controlling on your breathing. And for instance, the progressive relaxation, you might start from your feet and work all the way up. You could also go the top down, but sit relaxed and upright in a chair, and you will control your breathing, focus on your breathing, and all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, not suddenly, not like a whoosh jumping at you. Um, Sit there, and then you will progressively from the bottom to the top or top to bottom contract and squeeze muscles all the way through the body, and then relax them. And do that all the way through. And it just shows how much control you have over your physical and emotional. Well, it just shows you how much physical and emotional control you actually have and how you feel on the other side of it. One of the other methods that I actually do like is just having the ability or the opportunity to just sit down and do nothing other than focus on breathing. This is something that is really useful, whether you're driving or if you've only got 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can take time out and just sit, breathe, be with your thoughts, deal with your thoughts. As soon as a thought pops into your mind, calm it, put it away, get back to controlling your breathing. And you learn that you can control what you actually think about and what you focus on. A thought comes in, you go, right, okay, cool. Back to controlling my breathing, back to focusing on that, focus on the breath work. And the same skill then applies to when you're in a pressure moment and you have to focus on a specific thing. If you start thinking about the importance of making a shot versus where the ball's going to be, one of those thoughts is beneficial, the other one is a distraction. So if you get the thought of, oh my God, if I make this, we win the game, you need to go, okay, cool, that'd be wicked. Right, where's the ball? Look at that, go with that. And redirect yourself and line yourself up with the target that you're actually going to be working with. So practice that mindfulness, practice focusing on things. There's even apps and shit on your phone, I'm sure there is, but I would prefer to move away from that. Phones can be distractions. You got notifications pinging all the time. Even my watch, I get email notifications, messenger notifications, news articles popping up. Get rid of it all. And for me personally, taking my dog out, walking him every day, and just not having anything in my pocket, just being able to walk along and maybe even sometimes rant on social media. You've probably seen me do that. But that's a really good time to just kind of be on your own, be in nature. And I used to listen to podcasts all the time in those situations, or if I was walking the dog or if I was driving the car, I'd always be listening to an audio book or a podcast. Whereas now, obviously, I will still do those things, but it's still nice to actually take a little bit of time where there's just no noise, no distractions, no other input, and it's just me in my own head thinking weird things and speaking to myself. The final piece of this puzzle, number 10, is seek professional support. So, whether that's in the form of a professional psychologist, um, a mental performance coach, a personal trainer as a coach, a particular skills coach, an athlete or a role model, someone who has been there before, it is always, always, always worthwhile investing in someone who can fit that bracket and just be that beacon and that beam of support when it comes to helping you through any particular situation. Just someone that you can just talk to, get your thoughts out your head, and again, acknowledge and accept your emotions, someone that you can bounce ideas off, and maybe someone that can even just feed back a little bit of advice, which is, say, that's 100% the role that I'm trying to fulfill. I'm kind of, I don't really know where I would bracket myself now as a personal trainer, mentor, role model, coach, strength and conditioning specialist, football specialist. I'm not 100% certain on where I would actually bracket myself, but all I am trying to do is actually help you achieve the best results possible. So, if in doubt, go and get a coach. All the best people, all the best athletes have coaches. I have a coach. I have someone that helps me deal with all my shit and guide me. We all need a little bit of a helping hand along the way. So if you would like any support, any assistance with any of the stuff you're dealing with, then drop me a message, find me on Instagram, or indeed, yeah, no, don't know the channels. Just drop me a message on Instagram. That's going to be the easiest place for you to come and get me. Alex underscore Lenkowski underscore performance. And if you do that, I will help you along the way. That's what I'm here for. Until next time, I can actually tell you this actually ahead of time. We've already recorded, and I say we, me and Chris is back. We have already recorded episode number 96, which is a good one. So stand by and get ready to listen to that. That is going to be up straight after this. So that is it from me. Till next time, Lenko out.